Just
No, wait, let's do that again.
fill me gap.
Hello.
Hello.
Marie,
Yes. Oh,
I...
God.
Oh, what have you done?
Sat on
Sat on
something.
something. Right, okay. Marie,
Here we
I
go.
made you I made you a cup of tea,
You did.
and I can't believe that you haven't read the cup.
Oh, for God's sake. It says Lady Twat of Nobbington Manor.
I can't believe it. I did that cup
You did it on
especially
purpose?
for you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just delightful. What does yours say?
It says
Cappuccino. Well, that's very tame compared to mine.
Well, that is the cafe that's in my books.
Is
right?
it?
Yeah.
Cappuccino.
And do you know what it is? My sister was walking past a cafe one day, and she sent me a picture of their menu, you know, on the board outside,
Mm.
and they'd misspelt cappuccino, and they'd just basically done it really literally and written it cuppuccino.
Really?
And I thought,
That's a good name for
yeah,
a cafe.
and I thought that's a
cappuccino.
perfect name for a cafe. Thank you for whoever couldn't spell.
That's like those.
Yeah.
There's a cat cafe.
Yeah.
Is there a dog one? Puppuccino.
Oh yeah.
If there isn't, there should be.
There's,
Puppuccino.
yeah,
What's the cat one?
puppuccinos. You buy puppuccinos for
Oh,
dogs. Yeah,
yeah. So
they're
it's not called that. I'm
like
talking
creamy, ice creamy thingies.
talking
Yeah,
bollocks then, aren't I? Just
absolutely.
for a change.
As usual.
As per.
Yeah.
As per.
So the cafe in my book is called Cappuccino. There's a shoe shop, Linda Loves Laces, chip shop, O'Friar of Scotland. There's loads of them. I just
Right.
sit there. I'm making up absolute rubbish. It's the best job in the world.
And then you just talk absolute rubbish.
Yeah, well, why not? I went to the trouble of getting a cup made with cappuccino
I
written
like
on
that.
it.
Yeah. I like mine better though. Lady Twat of Nobbington Manor.
Yeah, my daughter gave me that. Kind of says it all, really.
Yes, it does.
Our great relationship.
Yes, it does. Love it. Love it.
Oh, so today we are talking to another writer. She's called Kay Wilson. She lives near Sunderland and is married with 2 children. So she worked in PR for 30 years. And at 48, after a near fatal brain hemorrhage, she decided to do stand-up comedy, which is why this episode is called
Episode.
Teeth in. Episode's called The Stand Up Mam.
Yes.
She performed unpaid 5-minute gigs for 2 years. And this was the inspiration for her debut novel, The Stand Up Mam, which is shortlisted for a Comedy Women in Print award. So let's go and meet Kay. Hello. Hi,
Kay.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely to see
Oh,
you.
it's lovely to have you here. So we've just been having a chat about your bio, and we were fascinated about the fact that you worked in PR. How did you get into that?
It was a bit of an accident, really. I wanted to work in television, and I got a job as a temporary secretary at Tyne-Tees Television. But I couldn't get a permanent job in. But because I was in the press office answering all kinds of viewers' inquiries, I managed to work in a PR agency. And when I went to work there, I didn't even really know what PR was because I knew about dealing with journalists. But after that, I really enjoyed it. It was dealing with all kinds of photographs for all different kinds of companies. It was absolutely super. You got to write press releases, which I was always been interested in. And there was so much variety. It was fantastic.
So you've always enjoyed writing then? If you were writing press releases, that's obviously a skill that you had.
Yeah, it's been a complete dream of mine to write. And I used to write right from being probably a teenager. I would write really bad poems. So it was quite a relief to go and do PR writing, which had to be really structured. And I did miss doing creative writing, but if you've written, some days I would maybe do 4,000 words a day, and it could be like a 2,000 word feature about some kind of tech thing and a 1,000 word press release about a chemistry plant. I really sort of put my creative writing to one side because you just haven't got the brain space. When you go home after writing at speed on a whole range of subjects, the thought of doing something, either a simple poem or a piece of prose, your brain's too tired, I found.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what sparked your life change and move into a more creative arena was brain hemorrhage. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. I was going shopping with my daughter for her 13th birthday down to York because we live up in South Tyneside. So it was a bit of a trek, but it was all the Jack Wills rage at the time. Everybody wanted to have Jack Wills clothes. So we went down, we had a great day shopping, and just before we were due to go home, I just felt as if I'd been stabbed in the eye with a huge ice pick. I was in this shop and I thought that pain was absolutely horrific. And then it went because I felt as if there was a balloon going off in my head.
Right.
Wow.
So I thought, well, that's really strange. And then once this balloon had gone off, I felt loads better. And then I felt really ill. And this was all still within about 2 seconds in the shop. And I thought, what on earth can this be? And the only thing I could think it could be was meningitis because I didn't know anything else that could be so quick. So I went outside because I was starting to think, I don't think I'm well enough to drive home. And then I managed to walk a few steps and my daughter was asking if I was okay. And then I remember holding on to some railings and my sort of brain cut out, but I could still see, which was very
Right.
strange because it was like being in Wallace and Gromit in the wrong trousers. So it was like I had a diving bell on me. So my eyes could see out. I can still picture the street in York where it happened. But then my legs started to walk and I wasn't telling them to walk. So they
Ah.
walked. But the funny thing is, I've got a good sense of humour, but this is mad because they walked me into my shop door. And as they were walking me round and I wasn't telling them to move, I can remember thinking, hey, this is funny, which is, I mean, it's having a sense of humour and being slightly crackers
Yeah.
because really you don't expect yourself to think, hey, isn't this really funny? And with hindsight, I think I still don't know how I found that funny, but it was just struck me as really funny. Anyway, I walked into a shop door and that was lucky because it stopped me in my tracks. I fell back and a woman who was passing, who was a retired paramedic, came over and looked after me and phoned ambulances, and I didn't really know what had happened. So I got taken into a hospital, which was all quite traumatic because I had to get transferred to Leeds. Steve had to come down with my husband from Newcastle to be with Freya, and I had to go off in the ambulance to Leeds by myself and
Right.
wave them goodbye at A&E,
Yeah.
not knowing if I was going to see them again, and they didn't know if they were going to see me again. It was absolutely brutal.
Dear
But
me.
How
anyway,
scary.
but happy days. I got fixed, so it's all good.
Why Leeds?
They were the specialist ones. So York, they were so lovely with me, and they kept apologising that they couldn't like fix me, but they diagnosed that it was this so it's called a subarachnoid aneurysm or subarachnoid hemorrhage. I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. But the poor doctor came and sat on the bed. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry. This is like the very worst news. And I thought, well, I don't know what one is. But I didn't say that to him because I was just a bit befuddled by the whole thing. So here we are.
So was there any sort of like, had you been ill in the run up to it? Had you been having headaches? Was there any sort of warning signs that this was coming, or was it a complete shot out of the dark?
The day before, I'd done a circuit class and I'd felt a little bit strange. And I had a little bit of funny sensation behind my eye, which is where the aneurysm burst. And I didn't think anything of it. But then I read since that if you can have a small little aneurysm and you need to get that fixed because if you don't fix it, it's like a blister and it will get bigger and then the impact will be far greater.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, how can I just ask, how old was your daughter at the time?
It was 30. She was her 13th birthday.
That must have been so scary for her too.
I know. She was really, really brave. When we were in the ambulance going to York, I kept feeling like really ill and I couldn't really talk very easily because your brain gets flooded with blood. So I wasn't out of it at that point, but I could see that she was like in tears, but she wasn't hysterical. I think if it had been me, I would have been hysterical. But she's a very strong girl. She plays football and all the rest of it. And I obviously give her so much credit for just keeping calm in that situation, which must have been so terrifying.
Yeah, it's amazing how they cope.
Yeah, I guess it helped, and it was extremely lucky to have a retired paramedic walking past because I assume that person would have just taken control, calmed your daughter, and just did what was needed, to be done. So, I mean, that must have been a big help.
Absolutely, because I think it's important to keep really still. And my instinct would have been to sit up or try and walk again or trying to work what was what. But the important things in that situation with an aneurysm that's burst is to keep really, really still.
Right.
So, yeah, she did a great job. I did try and find her afterwards to say thank you, but I wasn't able to, through the local paper.
What was her name? Did you get her name?
I think she might have been called Janet, but I can't quite remember.
Oh,
Wow.
that would have
And
been
it's a
so
few years
nice.
ago now. No, but yeah. So she's listening. I would really want to say thank you.
Yeah, that would be lovely,
You
wouldn't
never know
it?
if anybody
You
knows a
never
Janet
know.
in York
Who's a
who
retired paramedic.
who helped a lady out. What year was that? When was that? 12?
2010.
Yeah, okay, so
2010.
15 years ago.
So what was the recovery process like? Were you a long time in hospital? Did it affect you for a long time after?
I was in hospital for 3 weeks. I got transferred to Newcastle General, that was like the RVI
Mm.
now, and I got an operation called a stent that people get for
Oh,
heart aneurysms, and it was just a bit further up, to go in behind my eye, and that's sorted me out, and I got checked up, and from then on, I've been absolutely fine.
Is it a worry that it might happen again or?
No, not really. It was a bit at first because I love running, and when I was out running, probably 3 or 4 months, or maybe a bit longer, 5 or 6 months afterwards, I didn't know when I stopped if I was just going to conk out, basically. So that
uh,
took a bit of courage, and I'd been told I could go and live my life, and I thought, well, I've been told that, and I kept having this thing in my head, thinking, I don't want to live my life like a mouse, and
no.
like for 100 years. I'd rather like live a day like a lion. That I wanted to
Yeah.
be brave and do what I wanted to do, rather than like sit in the house with a blanket over my legs, feeling like an invalid. Because I think,
Yeah.
you're both prime examples. Life is for living, and you need to do the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And is that is that thinking, is that what led you into having a go at stand up?
Yes, because obviously it was so frightening, because I don't know whether you know, but when I got home, still didn't really know what a subarachnoid hemorrhage was, and when I googled it, it said that only 10% people will survive and are back to how they were beforehand. And I thought,
Wow.
and that's what I thought. They say never Google things, and I googled it, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh my word! And what was particularly chilling was that they said 70% of people die in the ambulance.
Oh
Right.
my
And
God.
when I was actually in the ambulance, I'm not don't know how to say this without sounding ridiculous, but not to be melodramatic, I had a huge sense that I could possibly die in the ambulance, because I felt
Mhm.
something really catastrophic was going on in my head,
Right.
which actually
Uh-huh.
it was. And I thought, I can't die in front of my daughter. I have to do
Yeah.
everything that I possibly can to keep
Yeah.
alive. Now, not but some people do die, and I'm sure they fought to stay alive. But I was just lucky that I ended up not doing that, because that would have been devastating. So
Mm.
I googled it. I'm the lucky 10%, and I thought I need to really grab hold of everything I want to do, and I'd always wanted to do stand up, and I'd had a little foray into it before I was poorly with a women's comedy group in Newcastle, and I was absolutely terrible. Because it was it was a comedy writing group, and they were so lovely, and I said, "I've always wanted to do stand-up." We'd met for 2 or 3 months at this point, and they said, "Well, bring something along next week." Oh my word, it was so excruciating, and they were so lovely, and it was like talking to Madame Tussauds. They were willing to be funny, and I just wasn't. Oh my word. Yeah, that
Oh,
was horrific, and I can remember going to my car afterwards and thinking, "I am never doing that again." But
Clearly that changed.
well, I think the thing is, because 'cause I'd had that experience, I thought, I want to learn how to do it properly,
Yeah.
because what I did for them, I thought, I don't know what I'm doing really. So I did a course at the Edinburgh Festival, and also, so I had 2 ambitions. I wanted to learn how to do stand-up, because I thought I wanted to have a bit of fun in my life after having something so
mm,
serious, and I wanted to
Mm.
bring a bit of lightness and humour to the house, because we're not like a deathly serious family, and we didn't go around acting like, woe is us. But I just really, really wanted to have fun and give my friends a laugh and have loads of kind of interesting news, and to come back, and
Mm.
I knew stand-up would bring that into like all my friendship circle and my family life. And the other thing I wanted to do was to get patio doors, because we keep climbing out of our window to get into the back garden, because otherwise you've got to go right the way around the houses. So I got both. So result.
Patio doors and stand-up. Interesting combo.
Yeah, and they were both absolutely worth nearly dying for, I can promise you that.
Well, I tell you what you should have done. You should have put floodlights out in the garden. Your patio doors could have been your stage curtains.
Exactly, that's a good idea.
Stand there and do your act.
Yeah. But it must have been nerve-wracking to go and do it. So tell us how you went about getting into stand-up, because it's not just like you walk into a theatre and go, "Hello, I'm here and I'm going to do some stand-up." How did you get into it?
So I looked up all the different courses, and the one that had the best reviews was to do with the Edinburgh Fringe, and it was a weekend, which fitted in well with the kids and family life. So I went up on, and it started on the Saturday morning and finished on the Sunday night. And you got all kinds of advice about how to create a script. And it's all about really burying into what makes you angry. And then that's a good start for being funny. If something really triggers your anger, then the chances are you're going to be able to have some good material. And then on the Sunday, we had to perform in the upstairs of a pub, the people who'd been on the course. And that was terrifying. I was staying with a friend in Edinburgh and I was practicing on her. And I just thought, oh, I think I feel absolutely sick. Why did I want to do this? I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. But I thought, oh, well, I've practiced it, I've written it. And I went to the pub and I just got such cold feet because we were on after another professional comedian who had a little show going on. And the people in his audience were all like the hairy bikers and like the leather jackets, big beards. And I was going to talk about Mary Berry and baking and yoga. I know this is not going to sit well, because even though I was an experienced, you didn't have to be a genius to think this is not their cup of tea. and, and also the other comedians I'd come across and seen in Newcastle, and they were hilarious. So I saw the man had organised the course and said, oh, look, I'm sorry, this was a great idea, but I'm not going to do it. And I just expected him to say, yeah, fair enough. He'd had his money for the course. Off you go. But he didn't. He was saying, oh, no, you've got to do it. And then the people who were in the front row at this point, because all the Hairy Bikers crew had left at this point with the other comedians, which I hadn't realised. So that was a relief. And there was a new audience coming in. And this, I can still remember, I owe them a debt of gratitude as well if they're listening. These 3 or 4 young blokes stood up and said, oh, you've got to do it. We're on tonight. We're like learning how to be a comic. We just do little bits and bobs here and there. We'll support you. You'll be fine. You have to do it. And to be truthful, I would have just legged it if they hadn't all been encouraging. That would have been the end of my stand-up.
It's brilliant.
How did you go down?
I was all right. I wasn't absolutely brilliant, but because preparing the set, learning the set, and all of the kind of delivery mechanisms of like when your pauses are and when you've got to pull a funny face, that was quite a lot to learn. So I delivered it as best I could. And it wasn't hilarious. There was a couple of things that people found funny. So I would say it was probably a 5.5 out of 10, 6 maybe.
But it was better than your first one that you did.
Oh, definitely. And what was really nice was the man who was the MC, like the compere for it all, said that one of my jokes was the best one of the night. And then he said a nice compliment. Well, it's a backhanded compliment, because he said, oh, she's just like Sarah Milligan's mother. And at the time, I think it was about 10 years between us. And I was thinking, really?
But how did you even, given that you felt so wobbly with
Yeah.
the first one, how did you even persuade yourself to keep going?
Yeah, just push yourself through.
Well, the first one I ever did was down in Hartlepool, and it was
Yeah.
an absolute baptism of fire. I don't know whether you've heard this story, but basically, at the time, there were quite a few little like cafes and bars who would open at night to do different things. So this was a little bar in Hartlepool that was a cafe by day, and it was absolutely packed. And in the cafe bar, there was a slight raised bit, and the owner, who was a really big bloke and a big personality, was sitting on this raised bit, so it looked like he was in a throne. So that was a bit intimidating. But I had a new set that was much better. I knew myself. I'd followed all the rules from the course, but this one was much funnier and tighter, and I was able to put more into it. So I was quite confident that this would have gone down better. And also I'd followed a couple of people who weren't very good, which is always a help. No offence.
Definitely.
Love it.
And I suppose they were lovely. Actually, just in case it's helpful for anybody who wants to do stand-up, what they'd done was lots of one-liners, and they are a nightmare to do for 5 minutes when you've got to remember like a joke, a joke, a joke, a joke, a joke. It's really hard compared to telling a story. So they'd gone and I thought, oh, this is not too bad. And so I set off and I'd had probably about 20 seconds and everybody was fine. And then this man who owned the club said, where are you from? Now, I don't know whether you know this or your listeners do, but there's rivalry between Newcastle and Sunderland, especially to do with
Yes.
football teams. But Hartlepool, I never figured, and I've got friends from Hartlepool. I go down quite regularly. So I thought, this is a funny question. And at the same time, I'm trying to remember the script. So I said, up the road, because I thought, I don't quite know where this is going. So then he said, where exactly up the road? So I said, Sunderland. And the whole place booed. And I'm saying like a football chant boo. Absolutely masses. Absolutely masses. But I'd done a bit of acting before and I had this joke about my daughter asking for cockbone instead of popcorn at the cinema. And I was at that point. And so I just shouted at the top of my voice, my daughter asked for cockbone, really. And I said it's really loudly and it completely shut them off. Because, to be honest, in my head, I thought, I've nearly died. I've learnt this. I've done the course. You are going to listen to me.
Yeah. I'm bloody doing it.
Well, yeah, I had steely resolve because I thought this would be so humiliating if I just like shrink into a corner and accept them booing and like slope off. And I just thought, to be quite honest, I'm not having it.
I love it. Love
And
it.
I turned it round because my sister was there with her partner who actually comes from Hartlepool. And at the end, I got a huge round of applause. Everybody laughed at all the rest of the stuff. And he said, oh, you really swung that round? And he's a really like hard judge. So I accept that as a win.
So did you spend 2 years then just like knocking on doors of little clubs and venues and saying, can I come and do 5 minutes?
No, I was really fortunate at the time. There's a pub called the Dog and Parrot, which is beside the Centre for Life.
Yeah.
And at that time, they had a comedy night every Tuesday, and lots of people had started there. People like Chris Ramsey had done their first gig there. Sarah
wow.
Milligan had worked there. In fact, one of the comedians who used to run it, who had a day job, I remember him saying that Chris Ramsey's first ever gig, which was at the Dog and Parrot, as far as I'm aware, was one of the best first gigs he'd ever seen. So he could tell that Chris Ramsey's career was going to fly. So every Tuesday when I could, which was most weeks, I would go there and you would hear comedians doing bits and bobs and it was open to the general public. And then on a Monday, there was another night, I think once a fortnight, at another pub that used to do comedy as well. And all of the comedians used to have like a closed night there, which I could go to. And again, would practice things. And then at the Dog and Parrot on a Tuesday, you would then do your set. And then the other thing that was helpful was once a month, there was a great night called Laughing Lasses at the Telegraph pub behind the central station. And I got to perform there. And that was so much fun because it wasn't always women who were in the audience, but it was so supportive. And the other comedians who were mainly young lads were really supportive. They were absolutely lovely to myself. And I met another woman who was a similar age to me and equally mad and wanting to do this. And she inspired a character in my book, which I know we're going to talk about. But we went along to most things together and that was lovely. But this Laughing Lasses was particularly good. It was a great place to try out material. And different material, because you could do lots of things about being a woman that you wouldn't have necessarily wanted to put onto the Dog and Parrot.
You must have learnt a lot as well by going along and watching other comedians who were trying things out.
Yes, and I mean, amongst those, there was a lot of like other nights that, say, restaurants maybe put on a comedy night. And the thing that I learned more than anything is just how hard it is to be funny. And also, I don't mean to sound cruel to people, but there's a lot of people who think they're hilarious and try and do stand-up, and they're doing it as a stream of consciousness because they're under the impression that when a comic on TV goes and sounds like they're speaking off the top of the head, that it's not all prepared and tested and tested and tested and tested to see what works. So they stand up and think, I'm really funny when I'm out in the pub with my friends, so I can just riff and it'll be fine.
No.
My husband still says he doesn't forgive me for some of the nights I've taken him to where he's had to listen to some people who've been so unfunny.
I can't imagine just standing up on a stage and thinking, I've no idea what I'm going to say. I'm just going to open my mouth and be funny without having anything planned. Dear
I know,
me.
I know. I mean, you were so helpful when we were writing our sketch for our show. You were absolutely fantastic in giving us some top tips and looking at our script. But we rehearsed that to the nth degree.
Mm,
We wrote it, memorized it, rehearsed, got
yeah.
it down, and then on the day, you know,
Made it look as if we were just
yeah.
having a chat.
And we had to do 20 minutes, which was a bit of a challenge, but it worked out okay. And we were so grateful to you for helping with that.
It was a
Yes.
pleasure, and it was really funny. Your routine was absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. I'm not
Thank you.
surprised it went down well. It was super, absolutely super. You were like a married couple.
We are like a married couple.
We're sitting on the sofa now like a married
I
couple, aren't we?
know. Somebody asked us, didn't they? Just somebody asked us the other day if we always sit on the same side.
Yeah,
And we realised that we
we
do.
do.
That's Marie's side of the bed. Is it Markham and Wise who do the sketch where
In the
they're in
bed. They're
bed?
in
Yeah.
bed. Yeah, we're not going that far. We're not getting in bed.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you performed for 2 years, but then you've since stopped. Why did you stop doing the stand up?
Found that it was becoming really hard to just, and I wouldn't say have normal conversations, but what I found was in my private life, I was constantly thinking, "Oh, that could be funny, that could be funny," and I thought, "This is
Yeah.
getting annoying." I just wanted to be able to enjoy things that were funny without thinking, "I need to write that down. I need to write that down."
Right.
I got a bit wearisome, and also I felt as if I'd done it as much as I could, and I just wanted to go and do different things, but didn't want to waste because I'd written so many sets, like loads and loads and loads. So I thought, well, I'll create a character and write a book using some of these sets.
Yeah, which you did, and which I've read. Your book's called The Stand Up Mam, and it's not entirely autobiographical. I know that, but tell us what your book's about.
Well, it was inspired by somebody who wants to change their life, who thinks she's got the perfect existence, and she gets entered into a stand-up competition, and her life becomes transformed because stand-up gives her a stage, and she starts to think about her own dreams and ambitions, and it's the story of what happens as a result of that. And I was talking about it to one of my friends actually, and one of the things that powered me through that book, and I thought I really, really, really want women to read this and realise that they need to take time for themselves. I felt
Right.
felt very squished, like a lot of women do, in terms of my kids and my mum, who I love very much. But everybody needed a piece of me, and I was like number
Yeah.
5 or 6. And I wanted this book to really inspire people to take time for themselves. In fact,
Yeah.
I was just saying to this friend I was talking about it to, I would like to stuff it in the handbag of every woman.
Well, it was. It was very good. It was a really good story in that she'd come from through some difficult times. Obviously I won't elaborate, but through this very unusual medium of stand-up comedy, she found a whole different side to herself.
Yes.
And yeah, and found her confidence, it was really good. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
It wasn't just me who loved it because it's up for a Comedy Women in Print prize. So, for the benefit of anyone who hasn't heard of the Comedy Women in Print prize, it's a prize for comedy women writers. And it was started by the comedian Helen Lederer because there is an existing prize for comedy writing, but women weren't winning it. So she was just like, for this, and she set up her own award. And your book has been shortlisted.
How did that come about? Did you just decide to enter your book, so to speak? Did you send it off to them?
Yes, it was quite a while ago now. We sent it off, and then you waited like normal with these things, probably 2 or 3 months, and then you keep your fingers crossed. But you don't. I think there's so many people enter things. I wasn't holding out a lot of hope really, and then long listed and then shortlisted. So really, feels like a fantastic success. Just that, but to get to go to London and celebrate together with all these other lovely, great women writers, it'll be fantastic.
I
Yeah,
know, it's
really,
amazing.
just being shortlisted is fantastic.
I mean, it must have been fantastic because I know that like that writing world is something that you've been immersed in beyond just writing your book. You also have helped out at Bay Tales, which is the Whitley Bay Book Festival,
Mhm.
and you go to a lot of author events and things like that. So you're really involved in that community, aren't you?
Yeah, I really love it. I've made some really great friends, and in particular, women writers. I just love hearing their stories and encouraging women to sort of find their voices. It's absolutely super to me. And there's a lot of really great women writers up here in the Northeast as well. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a great community.
What's next then? Have you got more books in the works?
Yes, I've finished the second novel, which I've been working on for a year, which is called Halloween Lanterns, and it's all based around an allotment and three women. One of them is a wellness coach who is encouraging two other women who are quite troubled to sort of improve their mental health through being on the allotment. And it's all that world of like people doing leak shows and all of the kind of the older men and the younger women, a bit of clash of cultures and a good dose of humour. And also, these three women have dark secrets. So as they work together on the allotments, it's how they tackle these dark secrets coming out. At the
Oh,
same time as growing the
interesting.
pumpkins.
Yeah.
And you self-published your first one, didn't you? What?
Yes.
Why did you choose to go down that route?
Well, I felt massively like an imposter, but I'd had a couple of agents interested over the years, and some of them had been in conversations for 6 months or more, and then for different reasons it hadn't worked out. So I had this book ready to go, and I thought, I wonder if I should self-publish, but I hadn't really met anybody who'd done it apart. Well, I hadn't met LJ Ross, but I knew that she was doing really well with her books. And I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a go, but I felt very overwhelmed. And it was really hard and brutal in terms of the checking of it all that you
Mm.
miss when you self-publish. In terms of like fact checking, one of the facts I talk about is that I had an Edinburgh Festival course in my book, and I had somebody going from Cornwall, and I was saying that the drive was 8 hours. And just as about to go to print, I thought, it can't possibly be 8 hours. It's got to be about 18. So there was things like that,
Yeah.
that an agent, an editor, sub-editor, everybody would be all over that. Whereas I was absolutely the marketeer, the editor, the proofreader. And
Mm.
also it's called the Stand Up Mam. And I was quite far down the line with it getting typesetting the cover, and I suddenly thought stand up should be hyphenated. Talk about late in the day, and obviously it's in the book so many times. And so it's things like that. And that was a bad day. That was a really bad day when I thought, oh, I think I have to hyphenate this.
Oh no.
Oh.
I've I've seen your book and your cover is very professional looking. So did you have someone to do that for you?
Yeah, it's really hard going, but I did a tender process with a website called Readsy, and I found a cover designer who I think has done an absolutely amazing job.
Mm.
And she'd won Designer of the Year and worked on Hollywood Oaks and all sorts. But it was really hard because I didn't know about ISBN numbers on the back. I thought Amazon put one on, so that was a really steep learning curve.
Mm.
And also, again, I felt as if I wanted to be brave because I had the freedom to be, because I was given options of having the main character with sort of wooden spoons and pans and pots on the front and a bit like cartoonish. And then she did a sketch of a microphone and a pair of lips. And I
Mm.
thought, actually, the character's quite spiky. And I thought that probably summed it up more than a looking like quite homespun mam who then
Yeah.
breaks free and does stand up.
Well, it's certainly striking. Yeah, the
It is.
cover.
It's
Oh, thank
It
you.
is
fantastic.
great.
Absolutely
No,
brilliant.
it's great.
So we've got more books coming up from you, which is brilliant, and we've got well, we're going to see, no doubt, on Instagram pictures of you swanning around in a swanky dress.
Yes, looking gorgeous.
Yeah, and at this awards. And all that remains is, what cocktail do you need to go with that swanky dress?
Well, I think it should be called A Funny Mummy.
Good, that's a good title.
And it contains Howlerhead. You might not have come across Howlerhead before.
No.
No.
Um, so it's a Kentucky spirit with banana flavouring, because when you're doing
Ah.
stand-up comedy, you need to have like howlers in it. You need to have all of that. Shall I show you the bottle?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go on,
go
go for it.
feel like we're going to advertise Howlerhead here.
Uh,
All right, that's so cool.
I really like different whiskies, and I was in the fire station in Sunderland and said, "Have you got any unusual whiskies?" And he gave me a drink, and probably you can see I like it. There's only about an inch left, 1 or 2 years old to be fair. So we're going to have the Howlerhead, and we're going to have Baileys, because you do need to be silky smooth and a little bit sweet as part of that, and it needs to be on ice, because a stand-up cocktail has to have that kind of icy cool undercurrent.
yeah, you have to keep you cool, don't you? So Howlerhead is a banana-flavoured Kentucky whiskey.
Yes, to me, it tastes a bit
Yeah.
like a bourbon, like a banana-flavoured bourbon, which may make you sound as if it's a bit icky, but it is absolutely delicious. Totally recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that. We might
Yeah.
have to come over to yours to make this cocktail, because I doubt they've got Howlerheads in Asda.
No.
No.
Mind you, we'd have to stay overnight, because once we'd had
Yeah.
1 or 2 of those, we wouldn't be driving anywhere, would we?
Get the spare room ready, Kate. We're on our way.
I think we could all look like the monkey, to be fair.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Hearing about you sort of having this total life change, being brave enough to go and do something you'd fancied, but wow,
Yeah.
what a thing to go and do. I mean,
The bravery is outstanding.
yeah, you earn a reward for bravery.
For
today.
bravery, wow,
Definitely.
yeah. Good for you.
And don't forget the patio doors.
Yeah,
Oh,
of
yes,
course,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
When we come round for the cocktail, we want to see lights around your patio doors.
And so, yeah, and fantastic. And then to unleash all that creativity on the world and get shortlisted for a prize. And this is one of the big prizes, the big book prizes as well. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. So whatever happens on the day, because I know we're both up for it, but I'll be rooting for you. I'll be cheering you on.
I'll be cheering you both on. Right, on that note, I think we should say bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, thanks ever so much, Kay. That was brilliant.
Take
Been
care.
lovely.
It's been
Bye.
brilliant.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you to our guest this week, and thanks for listening.
And we look forward to roaring with you again.